We've done this a few times now, this video is going to be no different. Let's talk about the infernal cesspit that is Tumblr. It's just got to go down as one of the most notoriously bonkers social media platforms of all time. I have a few stories here that I'm really excited to bring you guys, so let's talk about just a few of Tumblr's most toxic controversies. Before we begin, please make sure to follow me on all of my socials, and with that said, let's get into things. If you can't tell, I've never really been down the depths of Tumblr, so I don't really know which stories I'm about to tell are much more popular and well known, and which ones are more niche, but Mama's Milk Memories seems as good of a place as any to start things. If I'm not mistaken, this story takes place back in 2017, when it was shared around Tumblr that there was a woman out there who was making jewellery with her breast milk. Believe it or not, this was actually a small business trend a few years ago, and perhaps even today, because during my research I found 3 separate independent businesses that were selling breast milk jewellery at a point in time. Some of them still probably being active to this very day. Included in this is one website I found where people are selling these items for generally between $100 and $120. Now that sounds pretty fucking mental, but you also have to consider that the people that are buying this jewelry must provide the milk themselves. They're going to spend $100, but it's not someone else's milk, it's the person who buys it. They have to send it in a little pouch, and then the people that make the jewelry will do the rest. So in theory, this is going to decrease the chances that someone might be buying this for fetish purposes, because I feel like that would probably happen a lot. The people that are going to buy these are just mothers that want to have a little piece of jewelry around their neck of their breast milk. It's weird, but at least it's not fetishy. This trend actually started on Facebook, like many other Tumblr controversies, but after Tumblr users saw people selling their breast milk, it was the talk of the town for a short while, even if many of these public conversations have since been deleted. Based upon the comments and reactions that I've seen from people online, most seem to be fairly disgusted at this, especially because breast milk curdles. It gets all chunky and lumpy. It kind of is a bit gross, I'm not gonna lie, at least I find it. So the people that spend $100 on this jewellery aren't actually walking around with a memory on their neck, they're walking around with some out-of-date, visually decomposing breast milk. It was eloquently described by Sodapop Incest here on Reddit, who said, "Ew, it's chunky." True Sodapop. True. There were a few people defending it though. Obviously, it's nobody's business what you spend your money on at the end of the day, provided it's legal. But with it being the talk of the town for a while, some accounts actually moved over there and started selling directly on Tumblr, and even if these are few and far between, it was a thing that happened. So yeah, that's our first story, the first of many. Let's move on to our second. Let's stay on the same track for this next story. For it, we need to flash back to 2016, because that was the year that one Tumblr user posted another one, their toe, because they wanted them to turn it into a necklace. Everything I'm about to say is true. I mean, only as true as it can be, because I got a lot of this information from a BuzzFeed article, so who really knows how reliable it is? But 6 years ago, a Tumblr user of the name Cummy Eyelids claimed that she was posted a severed toe, sent from another user named Royally Oily. Now, in normal circumstances, the average non-Tumblr user would be freaking the hell out right now. But of course, this is Tumblr, so the opposite happened. When Cummy Eyelids posted on the platform about it, she seemed actually very pleased about the situation, saying that she was very glad in the trust that Royally Oily had for her, and that she would go straight into working to make it into a real necklace. But it wouldn't be long before people would see the absolute fuckery that was going on here.
Literally brought tears to my eyes. I'm so grateful and excited myself. Not only do I absolutely trust your artistic expertise, but I also feel my body part, yes, an actual piece of me, could not be in more capable hands. I know you will respect and care for my little piggy. I appreciate this more than you guys will ever know.
Hey guys, quick question. What the fuck is going on here? Tumblr, where white hoes are sending each other their pinky toes. That's the equivalent of a $15 Starbucks gift card. I need limbs, B. It was her whole toe, bruh. Teenagers out here sending each other body parts as gifts, and I can't even get a text back. Let's just take a pause here, let's take a breather, because I can confirm that there is more to this story than meets the eye. First of all, despite common belief, both girls were in their 20s, they weren't teens here. And secondly, but most importantly, Royally Oily didn't sever her toe to do this. She actually had it amputated almost a decade earlier for medical reasons. Cummy Eyelids, on the other hand, actually makes a fair bit of jewellery working with bones and skulls, so this wasn't exactly out of the ordinary for her either. So I guess you could say that everything worked out in the end eventually, but at least for a moment, this was a fairly large Tumblr controversy. We have quite the enigma for our next story. I want to talk about an article I found online published about quite the popular Tumblr account. It was written by Randall Colburn of the avclub.com in November 2017. And the subject of this article was that there was a frozen Tumblr page back in 2017 that was suspected of being a fetish account. The page in question is Constable plus Frozen, and while it's been somewhat quiet over the past few years because Disney hasn't really had as many hit animated movies since, say, Frozen 2, at the time the article was written, there may have arguably been a reason to question the Constable plus Frozen account. Contextually, you need to remember that this article would have been written hot off the heels of Elsagate, a scandal that occurred right under the noses of adults around the world. In the instance of this Tumblr, there's nothing nearly as blatant as Elsagate, but there are still a few posts that are a bit weird. They're strange, they're off, but not in a blatant way. Like this post of Elsa, who was banished to live in a Pringles can. She was like really small and then she was picked up out of the can and forced to eat a Pringle. This kind of thing looks like it's straight out of a dream, it's purely nonsensical. There's no Pringles in Frozen, Elsa's never tiny. It's tough to see the intention behind this post, if any at all. The thing is, you might not be able to see anything weird with this because nothing's actually there. It could be that this is just a normal account and that there were no weird intentions whatsoever, but let me reiterate that this was right after Elsagate. Parents were watching kids' content like a hawk. They were studying it, they were analysing it just to make sure that nothing was wrong. And in this instance, they had every right to. You see, when I was scrolling through Constable Frozen, I was under the impression that there was some weird or maybe even disturbing stuff on there, but when I went back to the article I was initially reading, it linked me to another one by New York Magazine, which levied some pretty damning evidence that something iffy was afoot. Like this post here, where Olaf regurgitates ice cream and feeds it directly into Anna and Elsa's mouth, which kind of looks a bit suggestive, so I'm going to blur it. There's also this one, which is a bit weird, where they're eating Merida from Brave's hair. And if that still doesn't convince you, apparently they had a tangled ball gag post. So that kind of seals the deal. The writer of this article spoke to the owner of the blog based in Korea, and they claimed it was not a fetish blog. So who really knows, but there was definitely a lot more to this story than I had originally anticipated and put in the video. So I am now to the belief that yes, this was in fact a weird blog, but nothing can really be confirmed, not for certain. I spoke about shoplifting in my banned Reddit communities video, and we're going to talk about it again here in reference to this platform. This is Tumblr's shoplifting community. In the aforementioned Reddit video, I made reference to the fact that I thought it was quite scary that there were just so many people in this community. There were hundreds and thousands of members, and I got a ton of comments saying, actually, Fox, what if you're shoplifting bread to feed a starving family? You're wrong, Fox. To which I will respond now. I never said that particular incident was a bad thing. What I was saying was that if you're shoplifting headphones or alcohol or jewellery or anything that isn't essential to live, it is shoplifting, it is theft, it's not yours, you don't deserve to have it. And a few years ago, those sorts of shoplifters ran rampant on Tumblr. These thieves, who prefer to go by the name lifters, started a scandal known as the Bling Ring. These people recorded their crimes on the platform using hashtags such as #lifting and #5fingerdiscount. Just like the banned Reddit community, these people would share tips and tricks on how to shoplift without being caught, and let others know what they've stolen, sometimes bragging about it. However, differently to the shoplifting subreddit, these users weren't exactly your typical Reddit user. because most of the people that were part of this incident were white teenage girls who stole items because they thought they deserved nice things. Their theft wasn't to feed hungry babies or to get vital supplies that they couldn't afford. Their theft was done because they liked the thrill. They did it for fun. One of the whistleblowers on this ring, known as Steeler Moon, estimated that the group had been around for about 2 years and admitted that she herself did at one point resort to theft because she was stumped for money, only stealing though from stores that she was confident wouldn't be hurt by the thievery. In a similar boat was a user named Dojagopa, a Korean-American male who stole basic necessities for his family. As it turns out, this ring was originally dominated by people who didn't have money and had to resort to shoplifting, but the Tumblr page was eventually corrupted by people stealing non-essentials, as witnessed by many former members of the community. One newer member of the community actually had an interview with Dazed magazine and said that she was unfazed by stealing. This is actually a picture of all the stuff she boosted worth $3,000. This incident took place back in 2014, so it's to my understanding that it's at the very least calmed down since then, if it's even a thing at all in the modern day. I assume I'll get some flack from this, as I do with all of my videos, because that's just what happens when you cover controversial topics. But what do you guys think? Please be respectful, but let me know down in the comments. Perhaps the most interesting of all of these stories is how in the wake of the 2016 American general election, there were multiple Russian users banned from Tumblr for spreading misinformation campaigns. If you guys remember back a few years now, these kind of reports came out of the woodwork. There were many websites that were accused of harboring foreign individuals who were in one way or another trying to sway the American election. I think the most famous example of this was Facebook, but Twitter and Google also came out to say that they had noticed sketchy activity in regards to people being linked to foreign governments trying to get Donald Trump elected. In terms of Tumblr though, it says that there were 84 accounts run by 13 different people that were linked to an infamous Russian troll farm called the Internet Research Agency. This information was uncovered in late 2017, a year after Donald Trump had won the election. But Tumblr says that yes, these people did indeed spread a disinformation campaign that might have contributed to his win. Now, to what extent, if at all, these Russian trolls actually had on the election, it's tough to say, and on the one hand I guess it doesn't even matter anymore because Donald Trump was elected, he had his 4 years, and he's out. I mean, at least for now. But on the other hand, it is kind of scary to think that a foreign entity could have an impact on a domestic election, and I do understand the cause for concern there, I do understand why it's being looked into. But I don't know, most of Tumblr seems to me like they're either too young to vote, or if they can vote, have already made up their minds. I don't think it's a place for swing voters like, say, Facebook or YouTube might be. Without trying to get too political, what do you guys think though? Let me know down in the comments. It's now time to talk about a story that's had a recent development. It's a story that caused the platform to have a nosedive a few years ago, but it might just be its saviour. Of course, I'm talking about the porn ban. For those of you too young to have witnessed it, or too culturally incompetent to know that it happened, a couple of years ago, lewd content on Tumblr reigned supreme. It was great. But in December 2018, things would shift, because Tumblr made a big change to their terms of service, which was that all these saucy communities would be eradicated in a pornographic purge. The new policy announcement came just days after Tumblr was removed from Apple's iOS App Store over a CP incident, which makes sense. There were a lot of underage people on there that were uploading provocative pictures at the time. Tumblr took no risks in this and just flat out banned this kind of content altogether. Photographs, videos, and GIFs of genitalia or female presenting nipples were all banned, except in the cases of classical statues or political protests. The CEO of Tumblr said on the matter that there were a ton of websites that hosted this kind of content and that people should just go there for it. Though things must have changed in the higher ups' eyes, because as I said at the very start of this story, they've actually gone back on this decision, very recently actually. Nudity will once again be allowed on the platform, even if sex and content focused on genitalia are not. In other words, a painting focused on the naked human form is okay, but a high depth of field picture of your knob, not okay. What do you guys think though? Obviously Tumblr is not as big as it was many years ago. This might draw eyes back on the platform, maybe, but maybe not. Do you think it's had its heyday? I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say on the matter. You know guys, I'll be honest, it would be too much for just one man to cover each of these toxic Tumblr controversies. There's too many of them. So for that reason we have a special guest star in this video, Raymundo2112. He has some great videos, I hope you enjoy his segment. Take it away mates.
Hey everyone, I'm Raymundo2112 and I'm going to be helping out FoxAkimbo in this video here about the most toxic Tumblr controversies. Tumblr is a wacky and wild place. And if you aren't already aware of its controversies, well, I mean, you will be now. So, let's just get right into it. Big thanks to Fox for having me on this video. The Undertale cookie needle incident. Back in like 2016, the Undertale fandom was truly inescapable. It was especially popular on Tumblr for whatever reason. Undertale fans were obsessed with shipping characters of the game together, even if they didn't really have any relation, or even if they were related, like by blood. Yeah, I don't know, that stuff was wild. Regardless, there was a ship by the name of Franz, which shipped the player character Frisk and the skeleton Sans together. For those who don't know, Frisk is a child and Sans is not a child. There was an artist who drew ship art of these characters. It should be noted that in their art, Frisk was aged up a bit, but regardless, still pretty weird. The artist was attending a convention in early May of 2017. Someone who seemed like a fan of theirs decided to come up and offered them some homemade cookies. After the quote-unquote fan left, the artist decided to take a bite of the cookies, and they soon figured out that there was a needle baked into this cookie. The artist spat it out and took a picture of the bloody, chewed-up needle cookies and posted it online. If the artist had ended up swallowing this needle, it could have been fatal. On the internet, there are a group of people known as antis, or antis. They're basically against different ships that they find bad or immoral, which I honestly kind of completely understand. There's also a lot of people who are pro-shippers who believe that anyone should be able to be shipped with anyone. These two beliefs are very much against each other, they're very contradictory. It is believed by some people that the person who baked the cookies with the needle in it was an anti. However, this isn't exactly true. People over the years have essentially made this an anti versus pro debate, which doesn't exactly have anything to do with what actually happened. It's just rumors at this point. The motives of the person are still unknown, and of course, there's still a chance that they did it because of the ship, but again, it's not exactly known for sure. The fact that there was a potential assassination attempt in the name of an internet ship is absolutely wild, and I think it definitely fits in this video. Steven Universe fandom harassment. It all starts with a fan by the name of Zammy. Zammy drew art of a heavyset character from Steven Universe, only with Zammy's art of the character, she was depicted to be thinner than she is in the show. That may not seem like too big of a deal, right? Well, unfortunately, to a lot of people, drawing the character in this way was a cardinal sin. People criticized Zammy to no end. They'd start off by just criticizing the art, however, they soon moved directly to taking jabs at Zammy as a person. All this hate and criticism was incredibly hard to manage, and it all ended up leading to Zammy attempting to take her own life. She posted what would have been her final note to the website and then disappeared for over 3 days. Luckily, she re-emerged and uploaded a video of herself in the hospital, getting the help that she needed. The incident now lives on as one of Tumblr's most nasty and toxic moments. To think that someone can get so much harassment over fan art is just awful. Zammy also made some art that was somewhat racially questionable, which is part of what led to the controversy, but it was really mostly this thin character art. I feel really bad for her because it's like, to get hate like that, when you've done nothing wrong, to get hate like that for such an insignificant thing, it really sucks. I personally got a lot of hate for something that I didn't even do recently, and it's a really shitty feeling, so I can really empathize with what Zammy went through. It's messed up. Pro Anna. On Tumblr there's a hashtag by the name of Pro Anna. The sentiments promoted through this tag are terrible. They encourage incredibly unhealthy eating habits and promote a terrible body image, mostly to younger girls. Pro Anna basically just being a shortened version of pro anorexia. There's another one also by the name of Thinspo, which is thin inspiration. Reading through posts tagged with Pro Anna and Thinspo is genuinely really disturbing to me. You can tell how destructive these ideas and messages are to people, and if you know anyone who is dealing with an eating disorder, there's always help. It gets better. Hey everyone, it is me again, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you like Fox's videos, then there's a good chance that you'll like mine. Farewell to you all, and thanks again, Fox.
After watching this, you guys can check Raymundo's channel out because he will be linked in the description. Thank you very much for the help, mates. And with that said, let's move on. This next story is going to be one of the most ridiculous I ever tell. The next few minutes of this video is going to be absolute drivel. So let's all take a deep breath in and talk about SonicForRealJustice. So first things first, let it be known that I researched a portion of this story from a Know Your Meme page. A surprisingly informed Know Your Meme page, but a Know Your Meme page nonetheless. So you already know this is going to be some riveting journalism. With that said, let's go back to the year 2015 and talk about SonicForRealJustice, which was an anti-SJW, anti-woke, anti-feminist Tumblr blog. It was known for having posts written by people using the personas of Sonic characters. You'd have stuff like this. You're an SJW?
God, you're pathetic.
Which, pause. Why Sonic? Why does every fucking thing on the internet always have to do with Sonic? Like, am I the only one that's losing his mind over here? I feel like this is some sort of big conspiracy that I've just never been let in on, some sort of big inside joke that I've just never understood it. Why Sonic? Okay, I've calmed myself down. Let's get back on topic. Believe it or not, this Tumblr blog has a long history within its short existence. Izzy's had a 32-minute video on the damn thing, so unless I want to be here all day, I can only give you guys the footnotes. Attention to this account was immediate, and happened after Mod Shadow made his edgy introduction. He claimed that he was atheist, anti-SJW, anti-feminist, anti-gun control, pro-logic, and hated humans, specifically social justice warriors. This post would rake in almost 7,000 notes within 24 hours of coming out, an instant hit on Tumblr. The blog would only increase in popularity after one of its mods, who took the persona of Silver, was banned after he disabled the Ask feature. You can clearly see here in the rules that the Ask feature must stay on at all time, so Mod Silver was booted. You'll also see down here that one of the rules was to be kind to Mod Silver, but after these events, the rules were changed, with one of the rules being switched to tell people to send Mod Silver hate and saying you should be kind to Mod Amy. A rift had now formed in the characters, a rift that would never be sealed. Mod Silver was the first to go, but he would by no means be the last, not by a long shot. This blog was made on the 30th of May, but the very next day on the 31st, Mod Tails would resign after claiming he was harassed by Mod Amy. Hours later, news broke that Mod Sonic and Amy were dating, leading many people to question the integrity of the team behind the account. Mod Tickle would be the next to leave after breaking the no snowflakes rule, as she had come out as a demigirl. Which, side note, I had never heard of Tickle in Sonic. Tickal? I've never heard of her. So I looked her up online and found this on her wiki. Age 3000 plus, physically 14, deceased. What the fuck happened there? But back on topic, on the 2nd of June, Mod Shadow would be banned, as well as Mod Knuckles, who had only recently been put in the group to be the peacemaker. Let it be known this was the same day he joined, and then hours later, booted. Mod Sally would then resign from the Tumblr account that night. Then, in a complete twist in the tale, on the 6th of June, just a week after it was created and her relationship with Mod Sonic was released to the world, Mod Amy was banned from the board, leaving only Sonic as a moderator. Though, as you can see in the rules, inactivity will get you banned, and on the 12th of June, after a week of inactivity, Sonic was banned. Silver and Shadow would then return, as well as a new mod Blaze, but by the end of the month, the account would go dark because of inactivity, and so ended the saga. This was clearly a troll and has been confirmed as such since, despite many people believing the contrary. I mean, if you think this was real, please give it a few years, but with the account going dark came the end of this magnificent symphony of Tumblr trolling. I'll be honest, when I wrote the script for this video, this next story was absent, it wasn't there. But when I announced it on my community page, you guys all said you really wanted to see it, so ask and you shall receive. This is the story of Sixpence. So Sixpence is a Tumblr user who actually had a few controversies throughout her time on the platform. She made creepy content, but nothing ever that out of the ordinary. Her first brush with what might be deemed as a toxic controversy though came when she tried to offer people a service in which they would pay her $30 and she would give her advice on their problems. You know, kind of like a therapist does, but here's the thing. She was not a therapist. She was not a mental health professional. She had no reason to do so. So you might as well go down the street and ask any old schmuck on the corner, what's the problem with me, and pay them $30 because that's about as useful as it would be to hire her to do it. But you know what? I would just forget that because that's not even the biggest story. That's not the reason that she is in this video. Before we get into the meat of this, I just want to put a little disclaimer out there. Please do not go send hate and harassment to her or anyone included in this video whatsoever. I don't want it. I don't approve of it. Please don't. The story of why she's in this video started when a Tumblr user asked her if she had posted about the children who worked at her family home, to which Sixpence replied saying that in Asia, many poorer children at the age of like 12 or 13 often begin working within rich families' households because school is no longer free. The child then gets paid and brings some of that money back to their family. Now, growing up in the UK, where the minimum age to work is 13 to 14, albeit with some pretty strict rules about which hours you can do, 12 to 13 doesn't seem exactly out of the ballpark. I would probably raise it a little bit to 14 to 15, though you have to accept that different cultures are going to do things differently. But, as you know, everything was not as it seemed. There is a reason why she is being mentioned in this video, and that's because the person working at Sixpence's family house was not 12 or 13, they were 8 years old. When confronted about this, Sixpence went off. She made the point that she hadn't hired this 8-year-old, which means that she could just wipe her hands clean of the entire matter. She claimed that she was against it, even if her posts told a different tale. And she was confronted by the whole of Tumblr who told her she had a slave, which she aggressively denied. Following this, she stopped replying to everything, which was definitely for the best, but this entire ordeal goes down as a funny memory now in Tumblr lore. Okay, here's the thing. We have covered a lot of topics today, but I know that we have just scratched the surface on what Tumblr has to offer. If you guys want a part 2, I want 5,000 likes, because it might sound like a bit of a far cry, but my Reddit, my YouTube, and my Instagram video all achieved this feat. So if you guys give me 5,000 likes, I will consider giving you a part 2 to this video. And if you subscribe too, well, that might just sweeten the deal. So it's up to you now. And if we do that, I guess you guys are gonna have to let me know what you'd like to see in that video, because I'm only 11 Tumblr stories in, and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.